Hi, Burr Stewart here with a brief update on the progress that Eric Vannice has been making towards his model railroad in HO scale. Now look at this particular detail here. This is a scene that he took from an old photograph of a pile driver building a trestle in the late 1800s. And this is a model he made on his previous layout. Look how beautiful a replica that is. And you can see he's working on doing the same thing on his new layout. Gorgeous. That'll be fun to watch that proceed. He's almost ready to finish this layout. There's only a little bit of it left. See, he's got a nice creek going along the side of the main line. The engine just disappeared in the tunnel. We'll have that back in a minute. Some mermaids down by the waterfall there at the bottom, in a very remote area where mermaids are safe to hang out, I guess.
We're out here.
And this is the top of the mountain with the backdrop behind. A little standing lenticular there. Very nice. And you can see moving along the main line, he's got a really nice pony truss bridge there. He built years ago. He's had it on several layouts. Some good canoes. And this very nicely done stream with the waterfalls and the rocks with a tunnel portal. Boy, I'm telling you, this is HO scale modeling at its finest. I love what he's done here with the retaining walls, just holding back the dirt where there isn't a rock cliff. He's just got that cribbing, I guess you'd call it. And he's even built a little encampment with an outhouse, I suppose for the workers that are working on that pile driver trestle project that I just showed you. Another effect I really like is the forced perspective of the smaller trees in the background and the larger trees in the foreground. It really opens up the scene and makes you think it's a huge area. And there's just a little unfinished to go on the right. So let's just take a quick tour of the layout and see the scenes we've seen in my previous video on Eric's layout, but it was quiet in the room this time, so it makes a little bit more relaxing tour. If you can relax when you're in the presence of such great modeling, which I have a hard time, it kind of makes me really excited. So see the stumps there, this whole area. He's intending to model 1895, so the European settlers hadn't been here for more than a few decades. And so you see a lot of stumps and timber cribbing, retaining walls. There's a beautiful steam tractor, or what would you call it, excavator there. And he's pulling into the first station. These are very significantly rebuilt label kits with the duckbill roofs. And I thought I'd go up and give you an aerial view of this town, just nestled into a corner of the layout. Very nice. Lots of people on the station. And of course the fine scale miniatures water tower. Can't have a model railroad without that, right? And we're heading out of town. One thing you'll notice in 1895 is they hadn't invented the automobile yet. So a layout set in this time frame needs to have a lot of horse-drawn and ox-drawn carts, which you see there on the bottom. And of course a lot of steam-powered equipment because they hadn't invented the internal combustion engine yet either. There's a nice swing bridge there, which just kills me every time I see it. It's so beautiful. He scratch-built this model from other photographs. Isn't that a great view? And he did a nice job on those duckbill roofs. Not to mention the trestle right out in front of the layout. Now my last video on Eric's layout, which I'll put the link in the description, I have a little more time spent on that mine that we're blowing by. That's a beautiful work of art that he scratch built. And this bridge he's had on several of his layouts, very typical of the period before they started making bridges out of steel. Nice farmhouse. Lots of details in there. And we come to the next town. This is a slightly different type of water tank that we need to take on water at. I thought I would go in and show you the top. It's got some kind of a lid on it so that the water doesn't get too contaminated. And over here is some period box cars and refrigerator cars. And then he's got a lot of buildings. He's been building buildings for years and years. And so he has a nice inventory of 1895 era buildings. A Western town, a factory, a Victorian house. So we can look forward to those being integrated into an urban scene. I don't know if you'd call it an urban scene, but at least a town. This is eastern Washington that he's modeling, and one of the advantages of that is the trees aren't so dense as they are in the western Washington foothills that I model. In this way, you get to see a view of the scenery better. They're not all covered with trees. Isn't that a nice backdrop, too? Eric and his wife Ellen painted those backdrops with a combination of acrylics and oils. This track off to the left is going to eventually lead to a sawmill and then around a loop. And he just got the loop working. So at this point we're going into the tunnel, and we'll come out of the tunnel on the other side, from where we just saw the mermaids and the waterfall and the mountains. And we'll dive down here and see if we can see the train coming out of the tunnel. There it is. You can debate whether they actually used headlights in 1895 in the daytime. I've heard people say they didn't. But we don't care. We like our headlights, don't we? Boy, that's a beautiful modeling. I apologize for the low resolution of this video, but this just encourages me to bring my better video camera over sometime and take a real video of this layout. So you can look forward to that in the future. We'll let him get that pile driver scene finished first. And that's kind of a nice overview of at least the left part of the layout. And so for now, this is Burr Stewart, hoping you've been inspired by this and you'll join me in other model railroad videos, and wishing you much fun with trains.